I don't see, I see 3 errands. There's
No. See people at the top, 6 waiting.
no, I don't see that. I think you're in control, bro.
Okay, I'll start letting people in.
Well, just wait a minute. I mean, it's only, let's
Yeah.
bond.
Wait 2 minutes.
Let's
You
just
got
bond. We just, we got a minute. Let's hang out. You guys, I actually intentionally got a brand new beer because I want to encourage people to have fun at this happy hour.
I like it.
So if they, I'm going to push that because I'm thinking about it. If we're doing this every month, we want people to come back. We should actually keep it fast and loose. I don't want to make a rigid PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, no doubt.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also, I realized making this deck, it's kind of long-winded and I feel like I'm going to end up speaking for a long time. So just chime in at any moment, just to keep it interactive. Because I don't know how many people are going to show up, but if it's I don't know if it's going to be 10 or 40, based off of our feedback. If it's 40, then no one speaks. You know what I mean? Because there's too many. So if it's 40 people, I'll end up speaking for 35 minutes straight,
Yeah,
so just asking for a little bit of support, I guess.
yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, I was just going to tell you, I'm going to be here, but I might turn my camera off because my nieces are here and they might be running in and out. So, but I'll be here. Is it an hour and a half?
Hour. There's a slide with all our pictures on it. So I'm going to, whoever's here, I'll let them intro yourself. So even if your nieces are there, say hello.
Yeah.
No, whatever. All right. Yeah. I guess you should let people in now, Key.
All right, here they come. We all say Aaron Helly, our names.
I wonder if I could edit my own. No, I can't.
Awesome. I recognize some of these names. We got lots of new names.
Hold on.
Jeffrey Lou. Oh, man.
Hi, everyone.
Oh.
Everyone's connecting to audio. We're overloading Zoom. Zoom's performance is struggling.
What's up, Frank?
Who was that? We got a lot of people up in here. Who just spoke?
Is that
Corey.
Corey?
Yeah.
Corey Wolf? Oh, Corey Reiser. Oh shit. What's up, man? I was just on the phone with another Corey hours ago. So my bad. I got that wrong.
No worries.
So you got the beard going. Yours is still not white. So that's cool.
I had I don't know, man. I had a 4-month beard growing and I'm still on active duty. So I had to shave it recently, but
Such a badass, man.
it's pretty solid.
Awesome. How many people we got? We got a lot of. I think I adjusted the meeting key so that people were on mute. But since somehow Corey can speak, so I guess he hacked Zoom.
Hacker.
I'm gonna do a quick test.
in IT 305. So
Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick test. And for everyone who just joined, we're just waiting for everyone to get into the room. We're gonna wait a minute or so. I see Toby's here. Toby, we do a test real quick? Can you speak, or are you permanently on mute?
Sure. What's going on?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can. I'm just laughing because I edited the settings for the meeting to not allow participants to speak and everyone could speak. But luckily everyone's being disciplined with their muting, so that's good. But everyone that just joined, we're gonna give it a minute because I see a lot of people still trickling in. I'll kick it off at 5:04 and we'll get going. Who else did you recognize, Aaron, that's on the call?
So I know Stephanie. I know, let's see, Corey. Toby, I've talked to Toby before. I've talked to John. I feel like I know Diane Vitale, but I can't figure out how. Diane, do you know me?
Are you my friend?
Are we friends? Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. And I see Stephanie Chiabatti has been connecting to audio for like 10 minutes.
She's
Unfortunately.
probably like juggling baby and being pregnant and like 3 jobs right now. So
Okay. Cool. Well, you know what? It's 5:03, and I think people have stopped trickling in unless I'm missing something. So we can get going. So everyone that joined the call already, thanks for coming in for this happy hour. This happy hour is something we're going to try to do every month. We're super excited to have everybody coming in. My name is Frank Scappaticci. I'm the CEO of Grayline Investments. I have a couple teammates that you might see on the Zoom already. Justin Key's here. He's our head of marketing and head of like all our creative thinking, because he's the only creative thinker, I think, in our company. And the rest of us are like executors. And then we have Aaron Helly, who's essentially our chief of operations and our head of sales at our wholesaling operation. Before I even get into the deck, I'll just intro what we are, right? So Grayline Investments is an investment company that started, I think, in February of this year. And we're real estate investors and we focus primarily in military markets. So single family houses outside.
Albert, you need it over my register.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Key. I think you muted me too, but I'm good now. So we invest in single family houses outside of military bases. Primarily, we have a couple different, we have other investments we do, but I'd say 95% of our investments are single family houses in those areas. And we've been growing a lot. We started this business and we were doing maybe 2 houses a month back in April, May, June, whatever. And now we're doing somewhere between 15 to 20. And along the way, we've learned a lot of lessons. We're trying to have this meeting monthly so we can share what we learned, bring people along, and hopefully also share deals and find ways to make money together. So thanks for everybody joining. I got a little presentation I'm going to give. If you have questions or anything during this presentation, throw them into the chat and we'll get going. Key, you also disabled my screen sharing when you hit the mute button. So I need tech support.
Should be good.
Okay, cool. It's asking me to sign in. Okay. You guys see my screen? All right, cool. So today's topic, investing in military markets. There's a reason why we chose to invest in this type of housing. We think it's awesome. And I'll go through in the presentation why I think they're good investments. We actually got a couple other people in here that also invest in military markets. Toby, I didn't know you were coming today, but he runs an Airbnb company, and they primarily focus on investing outside of military bases as well, which no one would have thought that Airbnb is a great investment outside of these types of places, but Toby figured that out. So anyway. Okay, there we go. Couple of ground rules or things to go over for these types of meetings. Please go on mute if you're not speaking. Everyone always says this when we do a Zoom meeting, but it's always a problem. So please try to stay somewhat disciplined. We'll open up the floor to questions or even intros at the end of the presentation. Someone like fighting. We want to encourage people over time to get their voices heard in these meetings. So over time, I want us to get to know everybody here. I want to start talking about deals. If someone's got a deal that they want to talk about at the end of a meeting, for example, it could be today, it could be next month. We want to hear about it, right? We want to help each other grow. Other thing, this is a networking event. We want people to meet each other. Feel free to ping other people in the chat, say hello, whatever, and like grab a beer. Like this is labeled a happy hour. If you don't drink, that's cool. If you do, like we shouldn't look down on anyone that has a glass of wine or a beer during this meeting. Like I want to do this every month. I want it to be fun. I want to joke around. People can make fun of me, and you could even show up shit-faced drunk. All good, right? Like we're here to have a good time. So no big deal. Anyway, okay, this deck's out of order. I'm going to overcome. So intros. I already introed Aaron and Justin, who are partners in Grayline Investments. Grayline Investments, again, is the company that's running this monthly meeting. I'll do a quick intro on myself. I am a former vet. I'm an 09 West Point grad. That's actually how I know Aaron and Justin. and I'm a real estate investor. I focus again on military homes. I work full-time at JP Morgan, but I'm actually going to quit my full-time job and focus wholly on real estate in about 8 weeks. The only thing that's really jamming me up is I got a kid that's going to come in about 3 weeks, I expect, and I want the paternity leave benefits that is offered by a large company. So I'm essentially being subsidized by my employer at this moment. So that's me. Aaron, I don't know if you want to give an intro on yourself, and then Justin, if you want to do that after.
Yeah, I'll hop in. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin. I joined Grayline probably most recently. Frank, Justin, and John started it and kind of brought me on like almost like in a consulting role at first, and then asked me to be their chief of ops. And then suddenly all our meetings were like done like this on a screen. And then suddenly they asked me to be on this like really obscure meeting, and they were like sitting all together in one room across from me. And I thought they were about to fire me. And they asked me to be a partner. So I was more than thrilled and super excited. You can hear my 2-year-old screaming, so I apologize for that. We're currently traveling right now, but I live in California. My husband's still active duty. I graduated with these other guys too, 09 West Point grad, and have been doing real estate full time for the past 2 years since I got out of the military, and have done everything except wholesaling until more recently. Been focusing on wholesaling, and I think we got 5 wholesale deals today. So we're killing it. It's been unreal, and it's been a wild ride, and I've loved it. So that's me. I look forward to getting to know all of you guys a little bit more going forward.
Awesome. It's great to see everybody on here. My name's Justin Key. I'm also a 2009 West Point grad, if you haven't noticed that trend yet. I live in New York City, and my full-time job is working for a medical device startup. But real estate is truly my passion, and I'm also looking to quit my job at the beginning of next year and do this full-time. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
And our other partner, John Plumstead, he's our head of acquisitions. So he's kind of our expert on how we actually find deals and acquire homes. And I think he is quickly becoming one of the best people in the country at this particular job. Another interesting fact about John is he's the New York State buffalo wing eating champion. So he's like a food competitive eater, which nobody knows. Really interesting. So next time you guys see him, if he's on a call, just bring that up. It's kind of funny. So our mission for Grayline Investments, in a short summary, it's improve lives, right? Like we obviously are in this business to make a profit, and we are here to make money, and money motivates everybody. We have to satisfy investors as well, but we want to improve lives through real estate, right? So if a seller of a house has a problem, we want to help them solve it in a fair way, right? If someone is looking for a home that they want to purchase for passive income, we want to help them. If someone needs to get into a home via a lease option because their credit isn't doing well, we want to help them too. And we don't want to mark up their prices to the point where we are acting unethically. So I think what our core competency is in our business is, I think we look at it like we're trustworthy persons in a business that can be very untrustworthy. There's a lot of incentive to be kind of a dick, for lack of a better term. And I think we try to do the right thing and live by the golden rule all the time. So that's us in a nutshell. Now, getting into the meat of the content for today's meeting, which is why invest in military markets, right? That's what we're going to talk about. I think it's good to understand what comprises your standard or most typical real estate investment looks like, right? And I'm going to leave short-term rentals and all that stuff to the side for today, because most people don't do that, right? It's something that is a little bit more niche anyway. So what do people do? They look for homes that can either provide great cash flow, or they're looking for a home that they can make short-term income on via a flip. Those are the two most common types of investments, right? Your standard cash flow investment in the United States looks something like this. It's mid to low income housing, right? The house or the asset itself has a good price to rent ratio, meaning if a home is renting at $1,000, maybe you try to get it for $75,000. That would be a ratio where it's going to rent, it's going to cash flow, you're going to make money on a monthly basis as long as it stays occupied, right? That's like, and that those typical location or geographic area for those investments is the Midwest, right? St. Louis, parts of Missouri, and lower to mid income housing. And people in those areas can see an aggregate cap rate of 9% or higher. So that roughly means their cash on cash returns, maybe it's 10% or above, right? I invest $100,000. I'm making 10 grand or more a year as long as I'm managing that house properly. That's kind of like the goal. And then the objective there is long-term wealth, right? That tenant's paying off your mortgage, you're accruing equity every single year. Hopefully you're getting some appreciation on that home. But the downside of some of these areas where people cash flow really heavily is appreciation moves slower, right? The highest cash flowing cities are not San Francisco and New York, right? It's just the way, it's the nature of the beast, right? And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the flip, which is a higher risk, quicker transaction, right? People do it for a living. They can make it their day job, right? So some strategies people use: find the house in the best neighborhood. Maybe they're targeting higher end markets. But in general, higher risk transaction requires more capital, maybe even outside money or other people's money. And it's like I said, higher risk, higher reward. You can make 100 grand in a flip, you can make 200, you can lose 60 grand, right? It's hard to lose 60 grand in a rental. So it's a different risk appetite for a different type of investor. So that's my summary of what most people do. And now I'm starting to get into why we decided we were going to start targeting military markets. One reason being we're familiar with them, right? Everyone in our company is a veteran. We've all lived in these places, so we understand them. But the other things that we saw are the macroeconomic conditions. Since COVID hit, unemployment's up, a lot of small businesses out of work. So what's that doing to the rest of the country? We're starting to see projections come out where people are saying that 20 to 30% of tenants are starting to show signs of financial struggle. We're starting to see that more and more in some of the cities that produce the highest cash flowing assets. Think St. Louis, Milwaukee, Memphis, right? Those homes that were once cash flowing heavily are the same homes that are introducing the most risk to an investor, because those persons that live in those homes are becoming the most likely to default. And this is an unfortunate circumstance of COVID. And another thing we've seen is in the higher end markets, like New York, where I live, home prices are increasing and everything kind of looks okay on paper if you look at the data from June to August. But I have a hypothesis that the high home prices have not really realized the downward pressure of COVID, right? It's not sustainable. And they're also propped up by low interest rates, in my opinion, right? I'm not an expert, I suppose. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So take my opinion what you will. But the bottom line is everything might be fine, but there are definitely risks present, right? I think every investor needs to be conscious that the path that we're on is subject to change. And getting into why we like military markets as a hedge against all of this ambiguity and uncertainty is, number one, stable rental market, right? Your standard single family home in a military market is going to rent at a reasonably high rate. Most of the homes that we actually put under contract from a wholesaling perspective are somewhere between 70 to 130 grand, and they rent somewhere near $1,000. That's a better rent to income ratio than you're going to get in most large cities, right? Like I said, in Cincinnati, you might be able to do that, but in New York City, not going to happen, right? So we're definitely like in the middle of that spectrum. But the other thing that makes it a great rental market is there's a ton of transient employed persons. There's a lot of people that are getting paid by the government, so the security in their job is super, super high. So I look at these houses as being almost subsidized by the government, because those paychecks are coming in, right? It doesn't matter if COVID's coming, it doesn't matter if the restaurant's closing, that sergeant, that lieutenant, that specialist, whatever, they're getting paid regardless, unless the government shuts down. But we all know that if that does happen, it usually gets rectified very, very quickly. And what that does in these markets is it insulates prices. Because the rental market is super strong and there's an extremely high population of renters compared to the general population, you see actually that in the single family home market, 2/3 of the homes are occupied by a tenant. In a standard city, Westchester, New York, Monterey, California, where Aaron lives, usually around about 1/3 or less of the homes are occupied by a renter. But it actually is flipped. That equation is upside down in the military market. Most of the people that live in homes are just renting, right? So there's a ton of investors flooding these areas, at least per capita. But what this does is insulate prices, right? If you can keep the rents at a certain level and keep them stable because the government is providing those paychecks, they don't move up and down a lot. Vacancy remains somewhat stable. And as an investment property, that keeps the price, it keeps it at a nice floor, right? So when you see a recession coming, whereas you might see a 20 to 30% decrease in prices in New York City or San Francisco, the military markets during a recession are going to see very, very slight movements downward. So we look at this as a hedge, and we timed up our business on purpose, right? Because we want to solve the uncertainty problem for our investors. Another thing that we like about where we operate is there's minimal competition. iBuyers and other large players like BlackRock and Invitation Homes, like hedge fund type people, are starting to buy up single family homes in a lot of other cities. They started in the Northeast. Now they're really hammering the Southeast, cities like Atlanta, Tampa, etc. And we just like don't really run into them in the cities we operate in. So when we're trying to find off-market deals, we very rarely end up in a bidding war with Zillow. And for anyone that's more experienced or have been doing this for a while, that does happen if you're in a larger city that's more competitive, like the ones I mentioned, or Phoenix. The other thing I like about our investments is permanence. I always get the question, well, like what if this unit or 1st Infantry Division or this air squadron leaves Fort whatever, Fort Smith or Fort Leavenworth, whatever. We try to invest in bases or military bases that have permanence. So they have airfields, artillery ranges, like things that force the community to somewhat stay together, right? You can't just pick up and move that in a day, right? So that's kind of something that we target and we make part of our business model because we don't want to have all these people or these renters up and leave our homes. And then diversity, we operate in 8 different markets right now. So we have a little bit of a hedge. Like if one does poorly, we can keep it up. But as of today, they're all doing really well. And this slide just depicts something I already touched on. This shows 2 different graphs. One is the U.S. house pricing index from 1994 or the 90s to 2020, and on the just the entire country. And the bottom one shows the price index for one of our markets, Clarksville, Tennessee, which is the home of Fort Campbell, 101st Airborne, if we have any vets on the call. And you can see we have gradual growth in the Clarksville market. And you see the growth too in the U.S. housing index. But during the recessions, particularly 2008, you could see the significant dip that occurred across the United States. And you could see that the housing prices in this area stayed somewhat stable. And if you looked, this is one example, but if you looked at the 8 markets that we operate in, these graphs look very, very similar, right? So I think what I'm basically trying to get across is if you're an investor and you're looking for cash flow, but you don't want to get crushed if COVID creates a certain downward turn in our economy, then I think like this is a good hedge, right? And also we're still getting the appreciation, right? You can still see the graph is trending upwards over that 30-year period.
Before you move on, Frank, this was really surprising data for me. And this is pretty much consistent across all the markets that we operate in. But, this really speaks to how these prices are insulated against other market pressures. And, this really proves why we're going about our strategy the way we are.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing too. Like we do a thorough market analysis every time we get into a new market. So if you guys want to see that for the markets that we're in, or you even want us to help you do that for your own market, that's something we can teach you as well. So just let us know.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron. I can't see the chat because I'm presenting. Did we get any questions from the group or anything? Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Hey, I should have said that at the beginning. If anyone, has a question and they just don't feel like speaking up or cutting me off, just throw it into the chat and then just bring it up, right? Just stop me just because I can't visibly see it on my screen.
Gotcha.
And then, so I already pitched the floor, right, on why I think these are good investments. They have a stable floor, right? The prices don't descend really heavily. But what we see in a few of our markets is the job growth is actually really, really good. And we have 3 examples here. These are 3 of our best markets: Killeen, Texas, which is Fort Hood; Clarksville, Tennessee, which I just referenced; and Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is Fort Bragg. The job growth in those areas actually is outpacing the aggregate or the average across the country. So, we look at that as like, hey, we know we got the floor. We know the prices have to stay propped up to a certain extent because there's a government employed population there. But healthcare is increasing. If there's manufacturing that's moving to these cities, then even better, right? Like, I'll take the low risk but high upside transaction all the time as a real estate investor. So we definitely keep that as part of our strategy. We are putting homes under contract in these cities in addition to wholesaling them. We don't just give them away. When we get deals, we also invest in them ourselves for this reason.
Frank, Diane had a question. She asked, did we buy, actually we have a couple questions. So Diane asked, do we buy foreclosure homes and is it a good investment? They asked, are we doing it all virtually and is it all wholesaling, sub-2 or wraps, etc.?
It's a good question. A lot of them. So we do everything virtually. Nobody in the Gray Line team lives in any of the cities that we actually are buying houses in. And the way we do that and the way that we actually run this machine is really through marketing, right? Without getting too deep into the nuts and bolts, our team, in terms of finding deals, we're texting and reaching out to tens of thousands of people a month. Like, we're going to eventually probably get to 100,000 people a month in terms of how many people we actually reach out to. And that costs money, right? We also have invested in social media, advertising, Facebook, Google, right? Like, if you're in a certain area in the country and you go into Google and say, I want to sell my house, Gray Line Investments pops up. It's not going to be everywhere, but in certain markets, we are there. So we essentially, the front end of our business is a marketing company, right? You want to sell your home, bring it to us, right? And then once we find that motivated seller or that person that wants to sell their home, we start negotiating, we put it under contract, and then the rest of the process starts from there. So we are a virtual business, but we use technology to essentially get our deals under contract. There's another question about creative financing. Do we do deals subject to and seller financing? The answer is yes. We've definitely done a few seller finance deals already. We're in the middle of doing a sub-2 mortgage wrap, more complex deal today. I want to hold that one to the end because I feel like I could really go off the rails and get super complex with it, because the way that we actually do those deals, we acquire them via creative financing, we take them, and then we sell them on creative financing, right? If you want to learn more about that, just ping me. But if I go into that today, I'm going to completely lose the rest of the audience. It's like, we just learned it 3 months ago. So if I try to do it here, it's going to blow everyone's heads off. There was a third question, Aaron. What was the last one?
No.
We do foreclosures and if that's a good investment.
So it's not part of our business model. And that's, I think, partially because I think foreclosures is a local person's game and we're not local. I mean, courthouse steps, you got to like really, I think you have to have eyes on that property or really trust someone that's looking at it on the ground to do that. So for us, since we're operating all across the country, it might not make the most sense, but do I think it's a good investment? Yeah. I think if you're a professional at it and you're prepared to do a little bit of volume, it's a great investment. But I think it's one of those games where it's higher risk, right? And I think the way to offset risk as a real estate investor is to do volume, right? If you do one foreclosure, you might lose 20 grand, right? Or 50 or whatever it is. But if you do 100 of them, you'll get back to the average, and the average investor that's doing it properly is making a profit. I think the same goes for flipping, right? So I think for someone who's getting into foreclosures, you might get your feet wet and like, just try it out. But I think you should go into that expecting to do more, right? Because I don't think you're going to figure out how to do that like a professional in one attempt. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, Frank, I want to throw one more thing in for that. We actually are trying to do one like pre-foreclosure right now. We're basically like waiting to hear back from the bank. We don't really know how it's going to play out, but we're trying. And then I think in terms of like what a good investment is, I think it just depends on the numbers, right? You got to learn how to do a cash flow analysis, learn how to analyze your market. But I think the power in as an investor is just having lots of different ways that you can get the deals. Not just one wholesaler or the MLS. You've got to be able to look at different opportunities to acquire them. And basically, that's what we're trying to do. We're casting a very wide net and trying to get as many bites as we can, regardless of the strategy. And we're trying to, I guess, learn new strategies so that we can pass them off to our investors too.
Yeah.
Hey, Frank, PJ Smith asked, is the growth in those areas related to the military or private sector? And I can say for our markets like Killeen and Clarksville, those are within an hour of hugely popular towns right now, Austin and Tennessee. So definitely
Nashville.
Nashville. So some of that growth is definitely due to their proximity to those towns. But when you think about the future, COVID has really exposed these overpopulated cities. And I think, I live in New York City. People are leaving this city in droves right now for more rural areas. So we would expect that trend to continue.
Yeah. I have a hypothesis that's for the really long-term investor. I think that a really untapped labor market is military spouses in the United States. My wife was a military spouse and she stopped working for 8 months and she's now crushing it at her job. Any company would have loved to have her, but they're like, oh, you live in city X and I have to operate in city Y, right? She was out of work. In the COVID environment, I just don't see that as a challenge, right? So I think there's a little bit of opportunity there, honestly, in the long run. I don't think that change will occur in the next 3 to 5 years, though. I think it'll take a while. But I do see military markets, I think there's COVID's going to help them, honestly, is my personal opinion. But I agree, Key.
And Caroline Erickson asked if we have a mentoring program. And that's awesome you asked. We actually have our first mastermind meeting tonight. There's still a few slots open in the group, but essentially it's a small group of people, high achievers, a lot of them veterans and West Pointers that just have a shared passion for real estate and want to work together to achieve our goals. So if anyone's interested in potentially joining our mastermind, we only have a few spots left, but I'd be happy to get on the phone with anyone and talk tomorrow.
Any other ones before we go forward? Cool. Last thing, the other thing I like about military markets is you have 2 rent collectors. If you're out of state, you probably hire a property manager to manage your property. They're keeping track of rent. They're making sure if things are past due. They're putting eviction notices out, yada, yada, making sure you're getting paid. The other thing you can do if you're renting out to a soldier or an airman or whomever is working in the service, their commander also gets involved if they don't pay rent, right? And I'm not saying that I don't want that to happen. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but the landlord, it's another recourse to have. Something goes awry, right? And as a former XO and officer myself, platoon leader, I definitely had that happen once or twice. So I can speak to the truth to this. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's very salesy, but why pick a partner to help you find deals, right? Our job at Gray Line Investments, we buy houses, but we also find deals and give them to investors. Why that's important is that I think it requires some experience and some know-how to actually find a home way under market value and to do that on a consistent basis. I think anyone can get lucky once, but to build a process that's churning out a significant volume of undervalued homes homes purchased way below their expected value or their ARV, that requires a lot of work, right? Getting homes for 80%, 75%, 70%, 60% of what they're worth and getting those under contract and doing it at volume, it's not free. It costs a lot of money. And any guru that tells you that you can do that consistently without marketing is just wrong, right? It's not possible. And if they do know how to do it, I'll pay them because I haven't seen it, right? So I think for people that aren't trying to do this full time, finding a partner to get you a property is, I think, the quickest way to get investments under your belt, right? Or getting them underneath your portfolio. And that's what we do. And scalability. We operate in 8 cities now. I think pretty soon we'll be operating in our 9th one by the end of August. By the end of the year, we'll probably touch somewhere between 15 and 20. And because we use things like Facebook, Google, social media, we can pretty much hop to a new market at our own discretion, right? There's not a lot holding us back. So if you're someone that says, hey, I don't know if I want to invest in Texas, property taxes are kind of high, I'm more interested in Florida. It's like, okay, well, just give us a call because we're going to Pensacola in a couple months, right? So we're all over the place. We scaled pretty quickly. And I think that makes us a good partner for not just one type of investor, but various types of investor. I'm going to skip this. I don't need to talk about, we already talked about who we are. This slide is a quick snapshot of where we operate and where we're scheduled to operate. So we operate in different parts of Texas: Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, which is El Paso. El Paso is one of the largest cities in Texas, and actually I think the 16th largest city in the country, which is interesting. A lot of people don't know that. Clarksville outside of Nashville. Some bigger cities that I think people know about: Savannah, Georgia, really big hotbed for investors right now. A lot of tourism, a lot of other things besides the military that make that a great city. San Antonio, a lot going on there, but there's also 4 military bases there. So I think that type of market gives a good balance of appreciation because that city's doing really, really well, but also stable rental markets when you get about 8 to 10 miles outside the city center because there's 5 military bases there. And then another thing we're doing as a business and what our strategy is going to push us towards is naval bases. I think it'll be something that comes up in the next year. We've targeted a lot of Army bases because we're all Army vets, but naval bases are generally in nicer locations. I know there's one near Erin in Monterey. We got some in San Diego. They're coastal, right? So they're by the water. So I think we're going to start making that more and more a part of our business because we still have that good rental market, but houses in the water are always nice, right? Like people always want to live there. So I think we're going to start jumping into those markets as well. I'm going to skip this.
Frank, we got a question about from Diane. She said, how do we invest? What is the minimum amount to invest in? Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
So Diane, we put out deals pretty much every single day, and we do walkthroughs on just about every single property. And typically we get offers the same day as the walkthrough. So really you just check out the deal, you do your due diligence however you can. If you've got people on the ground that can check it out, or you're in the market, or we can help you get more pictures and videos and things like that. And then you submit an offer. You basically just give us a number and tell us what entity or name you want to buy it in. We'll send you a contract, you sign it. We typically close 10 to 14 days later. The minimum amount you need to invest, it depends on the funding. We can help you get hard money, and you can fund renovations and the purchase with as little as like 10% down, depending on the deal, depending on your credit. And yeah, so as little as 10% down. We actually just recently got somebody into a seller financed deal for with closing costs. He bought it in El Paso for, he was in the door for like $17,000. So that's with all the fees, all the closing costs and everything. So I would say typically our purchase prices can be like around 60 to 90 is about the average. With ARVs being like, so after repair value or market values being like 120 to 180. So you could pay cash if you want, or you can get hard money, or we can try to get you a creative deal as well. So if you have 15K, we can probably get you something. And we can also teach you, I think another really powerful tool that most people don't know about, we can teach you how to self-direct your IRA. So if you have money sitting in a retirement account or TSP or 401k, we can teach you how to use that money for real estate as well.
That's a great point. Piggybacking off your comment on SDIRAs, another thing a lot of people in that situation do is they lend, right? So another way to get involved with Grayline is, yeah, we obviously provide homes, right? So you could buy a home, creative deal, or cash. But another opportunity we offer to investors is to lend to us. So that might look like, hey, I want to buy the Forestwood home that I currently have on my screen up here. The purchase price is $120,000. The lender gives us somewhere between $100,000 or $120,000. We give them a fixed rate of return, and they get interest on it, right? The benefit of that is they don't have to be a landlord. They don't have to manage the home. That's probably the most passive way, I think, to invest in real estate, or one of the most passive ways. And that's it. So they're essentially the bank that gives that transaction the juice it needs to be purchased or be closed. And the rates that people get are good. Like, you know, they're better than what JP Morgan makes on your standard home loan, which right now is like 3%. Like, so you get a better rate than that, for sure. Thank you, Aaron. Any other questions?
Okay.
Good. Okay. And this slide, I'm showing our June sales. I just threw June out there. I could have picked July, but I updated this slide last month and I was lazy and didn't update it. So this is June. These are the homes that we put under contract and sold to other investors. We didn't take these down ourselves. But what I wanted to call out here is these are the prices that we got under our investors paid, the purchase price. And these are the resale values that we comped, right? So this is what we think they're worth if they're in good condition, right? And generally, if you're a flipper or even someone who's trying to do a BRRRR or have rentals, you want to really be at 70% minus rehab, right? That's like, when I see deals like that, I think you pounce on them. So the ideal deal for me in these type of markets is 70% of what it's worth on the open market when it's a good condition minus the rehab value, right? And I think what I'm trying to show here is we're hitting that, right? Our average price our investor paid was 57% of resale value by our own estimation, right? If anyone's interested in comping these properties, take a screenshot, look them up. I'm confident that these numbers are in the ballpark, right? So feel free to do that. And basically what I'm getting at is like, these are good deals. They're honest deals. They're solid. They're hard to find on your own, right? So, and the good thing about when you hit that rule, when you hit the 70% minus rehab rule, your exit on that property or how you disposition or how you get out of that property or make money off of it, you can do a flip. You can put it under as a rental and then do a cash out refinance and get most of your money out. You have flexibility, right? You don't have to do one thing. You can win two different ways at a minimum, which gives the investor flexibility. If the market starts to tank and you just want to make it a rental, go ahead, right? You'll be fine. If things start heating up in the market you're in and homes are appreciating, flip it, make 40 grand, whatever. So I think our goal is to give investments that are good enough that we provide options to our investors. And this is just an example deal. I think I got the order of the slides wrong. Hold on.
Hey, Frank, can you go down to participants real quick and let in Plumstead?
Okay, hold on. I got a couple people coming in.
Nice.
Mid-all. My bad. I'm going to go over an example deal. For some reason, it popped up here. So this is actually a deal we bought. We operate in Fort Hood, which is Killeen, Texas. It's about an hour outside of Austin, Texas. And this is evidence of like a home run, right? Like sometimes we get a deal that the seller maybe thinks the property is distressed, or maybe they just got to get rid of it really quickly. They're in pre-foreclosure, whatever the situation is. But sometimes we'll get homes that don't require a rehab, right? Like in this particular example, you can see the address here. We had a 3-bedroom home, 2 baths. It was a nice home, your standard home outside of a military base in a decent area. We got it under contract for 79 grand. Did our walkthroughs, had a contractor walk through it, and they're like, they called us back and they said, hey man, it's ready to go. Like you don't need to touch this home up, right? So the only cost to get us into the door, or the only cost for us to get it ready to sell was closing costs, which was $1,500. So we were all in on this house for 80 grand or just over 80 grand. And we listed it on the market 6 days later for 118, sold in about 2 weeks, right? Or got it under contract in about 2 weeks. And then it went through the closing process. If you look at that, right, that return, and the pre-tax profit was 27,500, and it takes 85 days, right? You extrapolate that over a year, that's about 148% annum return, right? Now, this is a good deal, right? Like not every deal looks this good, but what I'm saying is if you keep your ear to the ground, right, and you get deals that are coming into your inbox and get involved, like these deals are out there, right? They're just somewhat hard to find. And then as an example of what this deal could look like, if you are a passive investor or someone that wants to be a landlord and have rentals, this is the exact same deal if we decided, instead of flipping it, or what we call wholetailing it, if we decided to put it in as a rental, right? And this home in particular rented out around $1,000. And I think that's conservative. I think it could have rented out maybe at $1,050 or $1,100. You get this home under contract at $79,000. pay the same closing costs. So you're still all in at 80.5. If your appraisal comes back, which we expect around 118, because that's what we sold it at, you're cashing out and you're taking 88 grand out of that deal, right? So in this particular case, you have no money in the deal. In fact, you're actually getting money out of the deal. You're actually netting upfront a couple $1,000, and then you're cash flowing $200 to $300 on a monthly basis, right? So the message here is very simple. If you're in the single family home game, the whole thing is predicated off of buying things for less than what it's worth. That is the entire game. It's not like a multifamily with 100 units and you're just looking at it and evaluating monthly cash flow and the cap rate in your market. No. If you're going to buy a house, 75% or less. If you're in a normal market, if you're in a really fast appreciating market, maybe you go up to 80%, right? That's up to you, just to capture the appreciation. But the whole game is predicated off of finding a deal. And that goes for lenders too. If you're a lender and you want to get involved with lending to somebody, if it's not a deal that the person is purchasing, just don't do it, right? Because that's part of your security. That's the whole presentation on what we do and the type of assets we work with. How can we help you? One, you can come to this happy hour, have a beer, joke around, whatever. If you're lonely, that's cool. Another thing that we do outside of finding deals for people, education. I think Justin gave his 2 cents on this before. We have a mastermind that kicked off, or it's kicking off actually tonight. We're going to have other ones sprout up once the seats fill on this one, which I think is probably going to happen in the next 5 to 7 days. And the whole goal of the mastermind is to help others learn the things we've learned and improve their own business or their own portfolio. I don't know, Justin, if you want to add anything to what I said about the mastermind.
No, that's pretty much it. It's going to consist of weekly meetings. We're going to have monthly calls, Q&As with real estate professionals. And really, we're just going to help each other grow, learn, and overcome any challenges or obstacles we're facing. So if you have no experience, if you have 10 properties in your portfolio, it doesn't really matter. You might be a great fit for our group.
Awesome. Can you throw the link into the chat just so people have it? I didn't send the deck out, so. We do a couple other things too. If you're already an investor or you're already in the game of finding off-market deals, but you want to grow your buyers list in terms of investors that you want to work with, we actually do provide data or lists as a service, meaning you got a deal, you want to JV with someone or partner with someone, or maybe you want to wholesale that deal or give it to somebody else. We help other wholesalers build out their list of investors in their local markets. And we just charge a small fee for that. So if you're struggling with that, if the sales part of your business on the back end is struggling, we help. It's something that takes us not a lot of time to do, and we can save all your time. You don't have to pay for your subscriptions. It's cheaper, yada, yada, yada. I think it's a great thing that we offer. And then lastly, re-emphasizing this because we've hit it like 20 times. The most important thing in this game is finding deals, and that is what we do. We're doing almost a deal a day in terms of putting things under contract. Erin is like drowning in deals. Like she needs more people at this point to buy them because she has like 10 that she's trying to get off her plate. And we can't buy all of them ourselves. So if you're an aggressive investor and you want to start making some money, like there's room for you in our business is essentially the message. Questions? If you got anything you didn't put out there in the chat, go ahead, raise your hand. And then Key, what we can do is like, if someone asks a question, we can maybe unmute them too, if they want to speak. I mean, it's up to them, but I'm going to pause to see if anyone's got anything.
You're the host, man, so you got to unmute everyone.
Oh, shit. Okay. How do I unmute? I don't know if I know how to do that.
Look at participants on the right. Diane raised their hand, so if you right click on their name, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah, I see Diane. Oh, I see her. I'm just having a little issue here. Okay. I just asked unmute Diane.
Okay, I'm looking for in your chart when you're buying and selling the purchase price. What does ARV stand for?
ARV stands for resale value. So that's really like what if that home's in good condition, what will it sell at on the open market? So if an agent listed it for you and the home looks good, doesn't need a ton of renovation, what price is it going to sell at? So if you're a flipper, for example, you want to know that number, right? Because that's really what you're going to, when you're running your numbers, you're going to say, that's the upside, right? That's what I'm aiming to sell this property at when I fix it up, when it's ready to go. That's the number I'm planning on, right? So it's actually, as an investor, it's one of the most important numbers that you need to know, right? Because rental or flip, you want to make sure that number's correct, because that's really what's going to dictate in the long run what's going to make you money or not. You know, that's the margin, right, in the deal.
Yeah, Frank, I'm going to kind of piggyback off that. So just to kind of give you a general idea of how when we go looking for our deals, we want our investors to walk away with 20 to 25% of equity. So if we get a house that's worth $100,000, that's the market value or the ARV after repair value, $100,000, and it needs no work, we want to get it to you for 75 or 80. If it needs $20,000 worth of work, we need to get it to you for 55 or 60. So you can put that $20,000 into it and still have that equity, can still capture that equity after you do the repair. So that's what our goal is, and that's what we shoot for.
Aaron, like you touched it. The two most important numbers for a flip, right? ARV, rehab estimate, and be conservative on both. Like we never inflate our resale values. Another caution to people who haven't worked with wholesalers in the past, a lot of people will overstate how much they think homes are worth. Always do your own research on that. Even though I think we're really trustworthy, as an individual investor, you have to look it up yourself, right? You have to. It's an important practice. It's one of the things that's really going to protect you over, if you do 10 properties, do it every time, right? Because in the long run, that's what's going to make you even out on top.
Yeah, I just want to throw in one more thing there, Frank. The kind of the benefit of working with a wholesaler, especially one that's doing the scale that we are, is we reach out to, like Frank says, tens of thousands of people every month, and we do all the negotiations. So we take all that work out of the way, which is a full-time job. Could be a full-time job. If you wanted to get one deal a month, you could spend your entire month on acquisitions and spend a lot of time waiting around. So that's the value of working with a wholesaler, and especially one that does the volume that we do.
If PJ Smith has a question.
We get PJ Smith. Okay.
Yeah, are you considering New Jersey? We've got the Fort Dix McGuire Air Force Base Combined Reserve. It's quite large.
So I think on a market like New Jersey, I think we're going to wait a little bit, right? So New Jersey, I live in New York, so I'm close to you, or somewhat close to you.
Where in New York?
I live in Westchester, Pelham.
Okay.
I'm like an hour and a half away, I guess. 2 hours maybe.
Well, the influx is going there too.
Yeah. So interesting fact, I read about this today. FHA loans, which is it's pretty popular mortgage loan or mortgage loan instrument, had their highest default rate ever this month, or their last report. New Jersey, I think, was like #1, right? So I think like there's a little bit of downward pressure in areas like Jersey and New York. And although that's concentrated in the metro areas, it'll eventually touch the places that are further outside of it. It's just the nature of the beast. So I think in the higher upside markets, we're going to like have a little bit of wait and see. There's a little bit of timing there, I think. And I think right now our investment strategy is get places that are stable, job growth is in a good position, right? Target bases that we know units won't leave. Like we know that like the 82nd Airborne, which is like, has a lot of history. It's big base. It's not going nowhere, right? It's staying there. So I think we're being a little risk adverse at a strategic level and being very aggressive at the transactional level. Like we see a deal, we go get it. I think that's kind of our mindset right now. And that kind of keeps us away from Jersey, honestly.
Well, the influx from New York is picking up at a rapid rate. The last report that I saw is 277 people per day. moving out of the Upper West Side of Manhattan, going to Connecticut, Westchester, and Jersey.
I know. I'm seeing home prices where I live skyrocket. But I also know that the reason my house was priced the way it was in the first place was because of New York City, right? So this is not sustainable. Like, this doesn't make any sense, really, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a very short-lived uptick. Did you want us to come to Fort Dix?
Yes.
But do you want us to buy your house? What's up?
I want to act as your agent in New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Oh, we should keep in touch. We're not there yet. We are thinking about doing the Hudson Valley at some point. In the next
I've got, if you've got money, I've got a deal for you, boy.
Hey, we could raise the money.
PJ, email me for sure. Email me and let's get this
Okay.
conversation going.
Put your, are you in the chat?
It's just Erin, ERIN, at graylineinvestments.com.
I'm going to type it into the chat. Actually, I don't know do I want to do that? How many emails will Erin get?
I put it in there already. I actually put all of ours in there. So just so you guys know, I'm the person, if you want to get on our buyers list or you want to work with us on the sales side of it, reach out to me. If you need education or mastermind stuff, reach out to Justin. If you're interested in partnering or investing, reach out to Frank. And if you've got a property that you want to sell, you can reach out to John. So our emails are just our first name at graylineinvestments.com.
Right. Any other questions? If you got a deal, and you want guidance, throw it out there. Like, whatever, man. Like I said, the beer I'm drinking is 9%, right? So I'm a little more buzzed than I anticipated going into this meeting. So throw it out there.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a deal, bring them our way, and we'll get you paid on that deal.
So, hey, Frank, this is Brian. I'm here at Fort Benning area. I saw you're already active here. I'm in the retirement process now. I'm licensed realtor in Georgia and Alabama, but I'm very interested in getting into on the investment side. I've tried reading a little bit and studying up on wholesaling and flipping and all that, but I'm very interested in linking up with y'all and getting some of that knowledge. On the other side, though, I'm also an agent, so if y'all need any help here, let me know. But I think I'm going to talk to Justin maybe tomorrow about the mastermind stuff.
Yeah. I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Awesome. And that's a great point. Agents, we partner with agents all the time because there's a lot of agents that work with investors commonly, right? They have one client that buys 3, 5, 10 homes a year, whatever the number is. So we'll go to an agent that if we have a home to sell, we'll go, hey, Brian, if you bring the buyer to this particular deal, throw your marketing fee or whatever it is that you would have made on commission on top of the price, and we'll figure something out, right? So essentially, if agents bring us buyers, we pay them, right? Or they get paid as part of that deal. And usually that's commensurate with their commission that would have been on that deal. So, and that's about being fair, right? I think as a company, we want more partners and we don't want to be skimpy with the partners that we do have because we want to keep them, Our business is based off of being able to operate in 10 different places at once. And if we try to suck all the margin out of every deal, doing that, we're going to fail, right? We need everyone on the ground in the markets we operate in to win when we win. So if you're an agent on this call, I'm not sure if we have any, we will work with you. We'll get you paid. We'll help you out. It's a win-win, right? The investor wins too, as long as the deal's good, right? So that's our philosophy. Any other questions? No deals? Damn, I was really hoping someone had a deal. They wanted questions on. I was banking on it.
John's asking how to calculate ARV, which all you have to do when you're basically trying to appraise the property, right? In which you just need data for. So you just need to find the data for the recent home sales. Sometimes you can find good data on Zillow, but sometimes you can't. It just depends on how it's reported and how many things you can find on there. MLS access is probably the best way to do it because you could just pull a report, but you can still sort of interpolate just by using Zillow, sales data, what is it called? All the different, Redfin, Trulia, all that stuff. And you just kind of look around and look at comparable properties, similar size, similar year built, similar, same number of beds, baths, similar square footage, and you see what they've sold for. And that's going to help you with your market value. And we can help you kind of I know that's like a real brief overview of it. We can help you understand that a little bit more if you would like. Just let us know.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I mean, we're almost at the top of the hour. We can always go over on these things, but I think I booked it for an hour. If you have any questions or have interest, I think Aaron pushed out all of our contact info. We're going to do this meeting once a month. We'll come up with a different topic. If someone's got ideas or something they want to cover, just shoot it out there. We'll try to incorporate it into our presentations. I also want to, as we build these relationships over the next couple of months and having this meeting, I want to start putting people on the hot seat. So if someone's like participating a lot and they got a business that's growing or they're killing it as an investor, I want to bring them on and like ask them questions. And people in the group would just ping them because I want it to be like a community in the long run. So thank you guys. There's no more questions. I'm out of here. Like I said, reach out to us if you got any questions, but enjoy the rest of your night and
Frank?
talk to you. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, it's sorry I was late, guys, but just real quick, if you're interested in any hard money lending, feel free to reach out. I work with, I'm a broker and I work with tons of lenders all over the country. Mm-hmm. So, it's happy to take a look at your deal. And the best way to get in touch with me, I'll drop it in the email, or in the chat is by email. And it is info, I-N-F-O, at cornlet.com.
Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you said that, Michael. There's probably people on this call that run other investment companies or lenders or landlords or property managers. Toby's one of those people. If you want to educate others on the type of business you run and use this meeting as a form of your own business development, as long as you're like an ethical business and you're real, like I'm happy to provide that platform, right? So Michael, if you want to, come in and talk for 10 minutes about what type of rates you offer, what markets you operate in, and like connect with people, just also hit us up. Like I'm more than happy to give you that platform.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm here to help if people get their deals done. So yeah, I mean, that's really all I'm here for. We work with a lot of lenders all over the country and, they do all sorts of stuff. Everything from single family fix and flips to, probably $10 million plus is commercial deals. So we kind of run the whole gamut of different stuff available.
That's a broad range, which is good.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Frank.
If you want to fund your deals, like come to the call, like Michael's here.
Hey, Frank, it's Toby. I'm happy to talk anytime you guys want to bring me on about both short-term properties from that perspective. And I also run a long-term property management company here in Fayetteville. So I have a house for sale in Tampa. So I don't know if anyone might be interested in that, but I'm ready to get rid of it. Just throw it out there.
I'm so happy you said that because I have lease options that I need to figure out what to do with it, and I might call you after this.
Okay, absolutely. Give me a call. Anyone else? You guys, my email is in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. No problem talking with anyone.
Anything else? I didn't mean to cut us off. I just felt like it was quiet, so I was ending the meeting.
Hey, Toby?
Yes.
I'll reach out to you directly. Don't worry.
Okay, thanks. I'm composing a message, so.
Yeah, no problem.
Frank, if anyone wants to chat, I'm happy to continue to talk. I don't.
Go ahead, man.
I just we're gonna probably open in Columbus, Georgia here very, very soon. We're looking for we're just looking for the right opportunity or the right timing, not opportunity, but we're looking for the right opportunity. That market is, from my perspective, is red hot from a risk, low risk, high return potential. I mean, it's crazy. And so I would say two things. First, short-term rental is not easy. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get a headache, a really big one. And then the second thing is, I would say, for example, in Fayetteville, property managers, the reason why I opened my company is because they have 500 houses and they have 4 people on staff. And the quality well, that should tell you what the quality is. So I'm not cheap, and I'll be upfront with my prices right away. So we focus on quality. But I'm happy to help other people, right? I'm happy to advise other people. This is not about just growing my business. This is about helping everybody else, because there's so much money in the real estate industry. There's enough to go around for everybody. So I'll stop talking.
Yeah, no, thank you, Toby. I was going to add 2 things to what you said. Airbnb, I think, is really cool. We don't do it because we just do too many things, right? We can't like do 10,000 things. But people do Airbnb arbitrage. People put homes under rent or they lease them, and they will then immediately, in turn, if the lease allows, Airbnb that home out. So maybe they're paying $1,000 in rent. They're bringing in $2,000 in revenue. So they make $1,000, right? Like that's one strategy people use. The other thing is, I don't think a lot of people know how much money there is to be made in short-term revenue or short-term rentals. I've seen homes in some of the markets we operate in that maybe they would rent as a long-term rental at $1,200, and I see people bringing in $2,700 during good months, $3,000, $3,500, $4,000, right? There's a little bit higher cost on a monthly basis to running a short-term rental, but there's, the margins can be really good if you're willing to take that leap. So
I'll share an example with everybody. I used to own 2 duplexes in Killeen, Texas. We were renting short-term one side of it. So a duplex in Texas will rent for around $750 a month. You can get $900 if you're really good and you have some quality. We were pulling $2,500 aside. And I sold those 2 properties to another West Pointer with the auspice that I would continue to manage all 4 units. So that person is killing it. We're doing really well. We went from 4 doors to we're going to be at 15 here really soon in Killeen, probably next month. We just it's a process to put them on the market. But I mean, so on average, we were pulling anywhere from, $1,500 a month long-term rental, and we were pulling anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a month in short-term. And we're doing that today. That's just not, so we're doing that stuff today. So that just gives you a picture of the possibilities.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the big jump.
I'll caveat off that. What I've seen, so mine is like, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and we got like smoked in the face when COVID started because Airbnb changed their cancellation policy. It was a slaughterhouse, but it rebounded in June and went like right back up to honestly like even better than before COVID. But with remote working, we're actually seeing a like substantial increase in people that are literally just bebopping around the country and going to live in different cities for like a month or 2. And it's just easy to get into an Airbnb that's furnished with like good ratings. So you're starting to see people that are like becoming like almost nomadic and moving around. And then in addition to that, like the hour loop outside of an hour drive outside of like an urban city is seeing a lot of traffic, and people want to like get out to the country and just get away for like a weekend. So those 2 things just in my little area of Columbus I've seen a lot of like traffic with it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to clarify a myth. So we run a short-term property management company. We advertise on over 20 channels. So Airbnb is a single channel. And that's what's different from my company and a lot of other companies is they'll do 2 to 5 channels. They don't understand the dynamics. They've never done it, and it takes a lot of work to get there, but we're on over 20 channels. So a good example, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, Google, HomeAway, VRBO, Hotels to Go, Hotels.com, You name it, we're there for the most part in the continental United States.
Diane, to answer your question, generally a short-term rental is some people consider anything less than a year, or it's generally like in most opinions it's a month or less, and a long-term rental is generally like a 1-year lease, or a longer-term a lease that has that if you're there for a sizable amount of time.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, the way I categorize it is I will rent a property from anywhere as little as 1 night to 365 nights. The difference between short-term and long-term is the property owner has put furniture in there. There's additional amenities provided. There's no utilities. There's normally at least internet. So you're getting a short-term rate, and that's a by-night rate. So that's what I would describe as my definition of the difference between long-term and short-term.
Yeah, and as anything else goes, that's highly market dependent. Like, I'm here in Boston, so a lot of landlords pay for like water and heat here, but they may not pay for it. It's electricity and it's internet. So it's highly market dependent upon what's included in a long-term rental, and that a lot of the times has to do with the age of the structure and how it was built, because up here in Boston, if you're buying stuff that was built in the 1800s, 1900s, nobody was really thinking about kind of like structuring the property to have everything on an individual meter basis.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pause this for a second. I think we should have a session on short-term rentals. I don't want to get too in the weeds on Airbnbs. I feel like we're about to go there, but I love the feedback. We're starting to lose some participants. I actually just wanted to canvass the room real quick. Do we have anyone that's, not doing this professionally, but is just getting started, that's trying to grow their portfolio? Anyone in the room at all?
I am absolutely brand new.
That's Micah?
Yes, this is Micah. I just started reading books on real estate, and just started to open up a new account to start saving money to buy our first property. Sorry, that's my son in the background.
No, all good. And your goal is it passive income, like so many of us started in this journey?
Yes.
And is that to leave your job, or what's your goal there?
I do eventually want to leave my job. I mean, I love what I do. I'm a behavior analyst, but eventually I just want to spend more time with my family and have more time to travel. My dad lives in the Philippines, so I'd like to visit him more often than just the 2 standard weeks a year. So.
Yeah, I asked that. Thank you, Micah, for raising your hand. Before we left, I wanted to emphasize like how important I think it is to give advice and also ask questions, Micah, for someone in your juncture. Reason I say that is like the first rental I bought, it's kind of like, it's okay. Like it's not great, I just didn't know any better, but I had to take that first step to kind of figure out what I was going to be doing. Cause I knew I love real estate. I love working around houses. I just love it, but I didn't really know what a good investment was, but I was still spent some money. Right. I'm really passionate about helping people learn, setting them up for success. And even if you're brand new, a deal's a deal, regardless if you're an experienced investor or brand new, right? So if you're just starting, just take the shortcut, right? Just do it like a pro, from day one, right? Don't waste 10 grand, 20 grand, like I probably did, honestly. Because now I look at the deals we get over our plate and what I first purchased, and I'm like, shit, I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm glad that you're here. I hope there's others like you. And there's a lot of professionals speaking on the call, Michael, Toby, myself, but don't let us drown you out, right? The whole purpose of this is to help people. And I would love it if people like you participate in the call. And I could just tell we're kind of getting too high level here. And like, I just want to remind everybody, like, this is to help people, right? And Micah wants to buy her first property this year. Like, we need to help Micah too, you know? So I'm just going to put that out there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey Frank. And also, is Frank also anyone else in the call? I've been doing this for 23 years now. I started as like about 10, dragging my
Dude,
parents
you
out
look
to
like you're like 24.
Yeah. It's I just turned a 33 this year. But yeah.
How many years you've been doing it? You say 20?
No, for 23 years. I started dragging my parents out to look at investment properties at the age of 10. They bought one at 11, and it's just kind of been an ongoing thing since then. But yeah, so it's same here. Like, I actually enjoy, you know, helping people. It's analyzing deals. It's looking at things, helping them think about other ways of positioning properties. And I kind of have experience in everything under the sun. I've been, you know, hands-on kind of, it's at the property management level. I've done, it's mortgage-backed securities on Wall Street, institutional class is property management, you know, a single family houses, it's commercial, it's retail, you name it. I've kind of seen everything. So feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions about how any of the whole marketplace works. I'm more than happy to answer the question. And if I don't know, I definitely know somebody who does know the answer.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Michael. I saw Diane raised her hand. I'm going to make this the last question today. Only reason is, unfortunately, today we have our mastermind starting in 30 minutes, so I have to drop. But Diane, do you want to speak? I think I just unmuted you.
I'm just thinking of retiring soon from my 50 years working for the state transportation department in New York. And I'm thinking about becoming a real estate agent. So I'm trying to get information that would help me. So a little here, a little there is a help. Thank you so much.
No problem. Diane, are you from Long Island?
I was raised in Long Island. I'm living in Westchester County. I live in Bronxville.
I live in Pelham.
Yeah, not too far.
Oh yeah, I asked because your accent is like the most Long Island thing that ever happened.
I was raised in Long Island as a teenager, but I've been living here since the late 80s in Westchester County. And I work for the state in Queens, and I'm going to retire in about 2 years, and I'm thinking about real estate.
I have a good agent that you could talk to that helped me with my house if you want to ping me. She's really cool. She works for Houlihan Lawrence, which is, I think they're the biggest brokerage in Westchester. So just shoot me a note at frank@graylineinvestments.com.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Well, I got to run, but this is awesome. I'm having fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, reach out to us if you got any questions, but I'm going to end the meeting and see you guys in a month or so.
Thanks. Have a great night.
All right, you guys.